Okay. I think we're clear. Let's go ahead and land this thing. Salutations, my friends. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer. And this is show number 1605, season 16, episode 5. And I entitled this episode, Criminal Companions, Eliminating mRNA and Externalizing the Cult. Yeah, we are dealing with the overflow of the release of the Epstein files. And I can't help but think of it being just that, simply an externalization ritual. What we're seeing with all this information coming out is just them admitting not even guilt, but admitting that, yeah, no, they do these things. We got devil-worshiping, satanic pedophiles poisoning your food and water, and nobody bats an eye. Nobody can do anything. It's absolutely crazy. It's like something out of a science fiction dystopian movie. We're literally dealing with, again, satanic, pedophilic cannibals that are poisoning our food and water, trying to mutilate our children, causing wars, destroying the economy, manipulating society and reality. It is crazy when you really put it into perspective like that, that's kind of like what we're dealing with. We've obviously got news regarding the State of the Union that took place this week. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib basically howling like cackling witches and demons. Donald Trump just letting everybody know that America is back. We're also going to be discussing what's going on down there in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. I hope I said that appropriately or correctly. We're seeing the chaos spilling over into our borders and spilling over in other nations as well. We have a lot of different things going on. RFK Jr. telling a crowd that Bill Gates has been indicted in May face trial in the Netherlands. People are very excited to see that. We've also got former CDC director Robert Redfield saying that he wants to see mRNA vaccines eliminated. A lot of things are taking place, and it's important that you have historical context to know where they're taking us next. Speaking of historical context, we're going to be talking about a lot of things from the satanic panic of the 80s. People think that this whole Jeffrey Epstein debacle is new. No, this is just a modern day version of it. These people, these satanic demons, these witches, these people have been at it for a good long time. And we're going to be talking about it. With that being said, let's go ahead and do a quick show. Let's go ahead and start the show. We're not going to have like a long-winded intro with World of Science. We're going to jump straight into it, talking about aliens, talking about simulation theory, talking about robots, supranational governments, right? Tucker Carlson and what's his name? Clayton Morris from Redacted, talking about supranational governments, globalism, and the paranormal, and how it's all happening. Like, this is what you really are living through right now. You are living through an age of disclosure. You are living through an age of whitewashing, of cover-up, of disclosure, of reality manipulation. You're living through it all. But first, before I jump into all of that, if you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/NOIZCE. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us in this current configuration. You know, I had a crazy idea earlier this week. It's like, hey, since we have our existing YouTube audience, why don't we just start doing shows over there? Like we've got the software. I think I'm overthinking it, trying to do like exclusive member stuff. Just fire up the camera, turn on the mic, and just record members only content on YouTube and link it to Patreon. That way you're able to get, your jollies off. You're able to communicate with people and do all this, that, the third. And at the same time, you're able to build on your existing audience. We have a lot of good things coming to you guys. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us in this current configuration, because I'm telling you, there is more coming. It's hard to think that we are already at the end of February 2026, and we have a lot more coming, not only to the show, but to us as truth seekers, as people who are trying to navigate what these crazy satanic technocrats are doing. Like, it's crazy. Right before coming onto the air, the World Economic Forum CEO just quit because of the ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So we truly are seeing the collapse of the old world order. And I can't help but think that this is intentional, right? That they're using Jeffrey Epstein to a larger degree as a detonation device so they can implode this system and roll out the next one. But anyway, I digress. Speaking of imploding previous systems and rolling out the next, just last year, we learned that Blog Talk Radio discontinued their services in January, and so we had to find a backup, Spreaker. And that's where you can find the majority of our podcasts. Over 500 plus episodes are now available to you through Spreaker at Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. As you heard me say earlier, we have also recovered our YouTube channels from 2014, the Noise Era channel, as well as the backup. That's where we'll be doing some of our exclusive member shows. We're also simulcasting on Odyssey. It's crazy. We have stuff that goes all the way back to 2018 over there. The pedigree is important, so people understand that we're not some Johnny-come-lately and we've been at this for a minute. It's like they only come after you whenever you've done something good, whenever you've not dealt them a grievous blow, but whenever you've actually made your point. And there's a reason why we're over here orbiting the way that we are, so that we could come in the rounds like this. Again, you guys can find updates to what we're doing inside of our Discord. We may not be active over there since they want to start doing all kinds of verification crap. I cannot lie to you. I'm super heavy online over there on Telegram. If you guys have questions, reach out to me in the DMs over there. Freedoms_faction. That's where we're at, man. We have 2 Telegrams. I'll put the link for those in the description bar below. We've also been posting again on our Instagram, random memes that we make, random articles that we find. The good thing about the content, or at least the software that we're using, it's able to generate clips as long as we keep the show under 6 hours. If we're able to keep the show under 6 hours, we're able to AI generate very cool clips of me going over information in a short, concise way that we can upload to Instagram. We're trying to do it all. I tell you, we're trying to do it all. And you can support what we're doing, again, by going to Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, or even Cash App. All of those things and more will be in the description bar below. Support yourself by getting some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil. The link for that will be in the description bar below as well. And I know there's not a whole lot of talk about instability and uncertainty and chaos going on. So people might think that My Patriot Supply isn't the plug right now. But I can tell you the people in Mexico, the trapped American tourists over there in Mexico, would beg to differ. I bet they wish they had some storable goods. You know, it's crazy. It feels like every other week we're talking about deep underground military bases and the elites sequestering themselves away from society. And, they have storable goods. Now is the time, right? There's a reason why they're rolling all this stuff out on us right now, because what comes next is going to be god awful and life-changing. And with that being said, let's go ahead and just start segueing over into the more or less main content of this show, or at least the main content of the intro. Let me go ahead and pull this up here for you beautiful people. The intro of this week's show is titled, I've got it right here. I'm just doing extra clicky things. Title of the show is Intro, Disclosure. Aliens aren't coming. They're already here. Here's Jeremy Corbell from 2025 saying the very same thing.
But the lie is coming. all indications, like all of them, is that that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on earth. And that is the lie they're going to want you to believe. It's nuanced how they explain that, the nature of that threat. But that 100 fucking percent is the lie you are going to be told. You even got a date. People have been whispering a date for a long time now. I know where that lie comes from. I know specifically what document from the 70s initiated the idea of that lie. A classified document. That is the lie you will be told. You're going to be told that there is a craft on its way to Earth. That's the lie. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I sent you 2 texts today with a year. Not from me. Nope. I'm not going to propagate that lie. Not going to be part of it. Not going to say it to the camera. Everybody knows. Just start paying attention. And they'll change the date, especially if they see this. Things will change. Because maybe I'm trustworthy. Maybe I'm worthy of your trust. Maybe I've told you the truth the whole way through it. Now you can verify it. If that's the case, then I'm fucking dangerous. You've been told the truth about UFOs for a long time now. It's been pretty orchestrated. It's been pretty clear. And it's using people that are telling the truth and want to tell the truth. Ultimately, they want you to know something. They want you to know UFOs are real. Thank God we're finally there. We're all there now. They want you to know the truth. But why they want you to know that truth now? Hope I'm wrong, but it's terrifying. Think about it. Maybe it's good to get ahead of it. Call it out now before they do it. I'll be called crazy. That's okay.
Well, we like crazy over here, don't we? We are fans of crazy over here, aren't we? Yes, we absolutely are. There's Jerry Corbell saying the quiet part out loud, alluding to the fact that disclosure could be coming in 2027. And I think with all the ramping up that we've been seeing in 2025, some of the things that we're even discussing right now in 2026 definitely could tell me that 2027 could actually be it. And if you're a at least listener of the show for this season, you've heard some of the theories that we've discussed regarding UFOs and regarding unidentified aerial phenomena. That, if anything, how we've been following it for years. For years we've been monitoring the human hybridization program. We've been monitoring, black budget projects, secret space program stuff. We've been keeping an eye on it. But what we're seeing right now is a part of that document that he's discussing or referring to. The fact that we're seeing the narrative surrounding UFOs being brought up. We're seeing them come up with the story that they will tell the world that we are no longer, quote unquote, alone. And if you're a listener of the show and if you paid heavily attention to what I talked about in season 14, I kept harping on crypto terrestrials, inner earth inhabitants, ancient advanced civilizations that have survived previous resets and things of this nature. They look like us, but they may be a little bit different, as you would, over thousands of years, right? And how we've degenerated. I mean, I'm sure if we were to look at biblical people today, they would look like giants or like heroes or Superman to us because of how much we've degenerated, both physically and spiritually, over time. The point I'm trying to make is what they're going to tell you is that these aliens, they come from Galaplaxius 9. They come from the farthest reaches of space. They don't do that. They've been here. They've been with us. They've been monitoring. We haven't been invaded. It's already happened. You see, now they've just got to get everybody to go along with it. Moving forward, but staying on the same vein, Trump orders top administration officials to identify and release government files related to UFOs and aliens. This comes from End Times Headlines. I put this up February 19th. It says that President Donald Trump announced Thursday that he will order the identification and release of government records related to unidentified flying objects and, quote, alien and extraterrestrial life, citing what he described as tremendous public interest in the matter. In a Truth Social post Thursday night, let's see if we can go ahead and just pull up the post. We have that. Oh, come on. And this is a continuation of what we talked about with you guys just the other week with Obama soft disclosing that aliens are real and that they've not been kept at Area 51. Yeah, absolutely, man. We have over 170 plus different military bases, deep underground military bases. Look at the work of Phil Schneider. You know, he talks about going down into the earth and then coming into contact with these otherworldly beings and then getting into battles with them. Yeah, I don't think it's just Area 51. You know, this is just a publicized thing. They are all over this place. But it says in a Truth Social post Thursday night, Trump wrote that he has directed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other senior agency officials to begin the process of locating and declassifying any files connected to UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomena, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Quote, based on the tremendous interest shown, Trump said in the post, quote, I will be directing the Secretary of Defense and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, UAPs and unidentified flying objects, and any other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. The announcement came amid renewed public and political attention on the subject of UAPs and extraterrestrial possibilities. Earlier this week, former President Barack Obama said in a podcast interview that aliens were, quote, real, though he later clarified that he had not seen evidence aliens have contacted Earth. And I think you guys get the picture from there. So we're slowly getting this narrative that the aliens are here. We know they're here. We've been coming into contact with them. They're in contact with us. Right? Last year, we played a lot of clips of Representative Tim Burchett talking about seeing these crafts off the coast of America that are the size of 3 football fields, going hundreds of miles into the ocean underground. And, you know, as you hear me talk about with the Native American Int people and their mythology, where they have these subterranean entities that come from underground and help rebuild civilization. Like the evidence is there in so many different ways that even if we weren't alone in the universe in this context, that there had already been aliens here, right? And them showing up isn't something new. Star people, right? What was indigo children? Wasn't that like a big thing a few years ago? Remember? Children that were born not of this time. And so we live in a very, very interesting world, a science fiction reality, to say the least. Here is Donald Trump taking questions with reporters talking about aliens and essentially Project Bluebeam. Let's listen.
You need all persuasion. I would look at China and Russia. They've been invited. Yeah.
Something that got a lot
You need both. You need all persuasions. No discrimination.
something that got a lot of attention this week. Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know.
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, if the president can declassify anything that he wants to,
Well,
so if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens are real.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals. What else?
What do you, based on what you've been told, what do you think happened to those guys?
I would look at China and Russia. They've been invited.
Only illegals. Only illegal aliens. We know those are real. But as far as the aliens that you're looking for, they may not be here. The aliens from Galaxy 9s, the Pleiadians, the Nordics, the Avians, right? All these different races, the Draconians, which I think is, just another name for the reptilians, the alien grays. And when you look at, or at least hear people talk about what they think of as grays, they have a robotic feel to them. Yeah, they look corporeal. Yeah, they look like they have, tiny spindly bodies, but people report that they have mechanical traits to them, industrious movements, robotic movements, that it's not organic, right? And so it would be considered advanced technology to us if we were to come into contact with not necessarily aliens, but humans on a different timeline, so to speak. And I'm not talking about time travelers. We can get into that too. But me saying, like, there's a separate tract of humanity coexisting in this timeline with us that are not held back by the reins of society that we have today. And they have advanced in a more superior fashion than we have today with technology and so much more. And so, of course, they would want to come see, hey, what are these humans up to? Of course, they would be curious, looking at us like ants, or a cockroach, or a chicken, like something that you would just observe, right, and monitor the growth. Yeah, but you see, how do you talk about that to the public? The same way we're trying to figure out, hey, like, you're being ruled by satanic pedophiles that literally want to vampire your children's essence and poison your food and water, and people are not, they're not even batting an eye. Like, if anything, what's crazy is now is the perfect time to release this, because people are not necessarily asleep at the wheel, but the light, and it's not that the lights are on, nobody's home. It's like, what are we going to do about this? The same way I'm talking about Jeffrey Epstein being a detonation device so they can implode this old world order and roll out the technocracy. God knows what they're going to use the aliens for, and the lead up to that. So I can for sure see 2027 being that disclosure time period, and everything now leading up to just that. The same way we've been begging for years about the disclosure of Jeffrey Epstein's files. Look at the reverberations that are happening. We're getting resignations, right? It really is crazy when you put it all together. But moving forward, speaking of putting it all together, Stephen Greer, who I think is a plant, is a Fed, talks about preparing a Trump speech on alien disclosure. Let's listen.
Technological advantage. You know that you have essentially written a speech for the president to deliver if he decides to do this. I want to quote just the first line. My fellow Americans and all citizens of Earth, it has come to our attention that extraterrestrial civilizations of great technological advancement have been visiting Earth for some time. Could you see President Trump being the first president to step to the podium and deliver a speech like that?
I do, and apparently his daughter-in-law believes so as well. And I think the reason for that is that there are so many pressures about this subject coming out in the next few months that delaying it much longer would not be proper. And I've advised in a briefing we did for the White House that they do not want to be behind the curve on this. They want to not have it come out through other countries or in some other way, asymmetrically, let's say, and they want to be ahead of this. So I think it looks like it is picking up steam. And of course, what actually gets decided by the president, I'm not privy to per se, not directly, but I do think this is coming on a fast track right now.
Yeah, we've actually got the clip of Laura Trump coming up talking about the speech, right? So this is obviously something that's being discussed amongst the higher ups in Washington, in DC, by the deep state, by the cabal, by the Illuminati, right? By the white hats, so to speak. This is what Donald Trump represents, is the white hat aspect of the checkerboard of the Illuminati pattern, right? This is why I say it's a whitewash, because he's the good part. He's the Luciferian part, not the satanic part. He's the bringer of the light, not the taker of the light, you see. But staying simply on this with Trump, to declassify reports on UFOs, disclosure, and what this means. These aliens, these entities, they don't communicate solely with Americans. They don't communicate solely with the Russians, with the Chinese. Because if you ask me, I think there's a for sure demonic component attached to it. And the Americans, or who they refer to as the Atlanteans, have made an old world pact with these entities. And because, again, we're dealing with a lot of different things here. This is why you have to have like an expanded understanding of what we're talking about with UFOs. It's not just simple nuts and bolts, right? Some of these are interdimensional. Some of them are biomechanical. Some of them are organic, right? There have been reports of people talking about being able to psychically link with some of these UFOs whenever they're on board. So there's a lot of different things whenever we start talking about this stuff, man. Because again, we're dealing with an advanced form of technology. I think it was either last week or the week before last, you heard me talk about alien or advanced archaeology, where people are finding like UFOs in temples, or where they find, UFOs in layers of rock that are thousands of years old. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Or they find UFOs buried in the middle of mountains, right? Like we have to understand that the UFO topic itself is very, very mysterious and ambiguous on purpose. This is why they roll out propaganda like Ancient Aliens to get you to think again that it comes from Galaplaxius 9 or some far off land, whenever it's just other forms and other incarnations of humanity. Like, look at the Vimanas of ancient Hindu texts, right? They break it down. These are blue scripts or blueprints, right, of how to build these things because it's happened in our past. Humans are master builders, but they don't want to tell you that. They want to tell you that you're a slave, or you're a creation of these entities that come from millions and millions of miles away. You see, moving forward, but talking about one of the same things. I saw this pop up the other week, and I hope it doesn't become a trend. It's two scientists, two shootings, months apart, a Caltech astronomer and a leading plasma physicist. Authorities say that it's unrelated incidents, but maybe they aren't. But when people working on the frontiers of science start dying, it's hard to not wonder whether someone made a discovery on something they weren't supposed to, or maybe they were about to say something they shouldn't. So why do we have prominent scientists, an astronomer from Caltech dying, and a plasma physicist dying in a time frame when we're being told that the aliens are coming? I hope you guys get what I'm trying to allude to. I think that because humans are master builders, this is me trying to build on my previous point. Humans are master builders. We are able to discover this advanced technology, or if anything, rediscover it and rebuild it and repurpose it. That's the path we should be going down. We should not be going down the path of, oh, it's aliens. Humans are too stupid. We need an international world government to govern us because we have this advanced technology coming here. I don't think that's the case at all. You see, I don't think that's the case at all. I'm going to play for you guys real quick a video clip of a student building an anti-gravity device using acoustic waves. He's using Arduino Nano, a motor driver, and 60 ultrasonic transducers. They all emit about 40 kilohertz of sound, and it creates an anti-gravitic bubble. And so this is just something that I'm able to find very quickly on my Twitter feed while I'm scrolling through trying to find news for the show. I don't think that these aliens are coming from Galaplaxius 9 access to the technology, but the narrative that we're being told is that we need all this assistance, that humans are too stupid, the aliens are coming from thousands of miles away. And what better way to prove your point, or at least to cement your point, than to kill scientists that could disprove your point, get rid of astronomers that could prove that trajectory is not real. Remember, like, what was that alien object that was floating in the sky just last year, right? Had people all worried. It wasn't a Oumuamua, it was something else. It was another piece of space debris that had people losing their mother-loving minds because they were told to by the TV. You see, could have just been like a meteorite, could have just been a piece of, charred satellite or something. But because you got people in the white coat cult, scientists and technocrats telling you that, oh my gosh, this is a piece of advanced technology from space. It's changing colors, its trajectory, and it's doing this, it's doing that. You have people terrified. This is why when you go back and you hear about people doing studies on what happened with the World Awards, the War of the World radio broadcast, like back in the 60s, it had people terrified, packing up, committing suicide, going through all kinds of emotions and motions, because the radio did a very, very convincing news broadcast alluding to the fact that they had been taken over by aliens. The very same thing is going to happen here. They got humanity all drugged up, dripped out, tuning out, disassociating from reality. They'll listen to whatever kind of story Donald Trump tells them, or whatever kind of story that somebody in a white coat will tell them, whether it's Stephen Greer or whether it's Luis Elizondo, whether it's Jeremy Corbell, whether it's Billy Carlson, whether or not it's all these celebrities, Corey Good, right? It's the story, it's the narrative. But you see, there's not a narrative of human excellence. I was about to say American excellence, human excellence. There's not a story of the power of humanity, the dynamite mind of the human. No. See, we don't make anti-gravitic devices using sound. That's something that only the aliens would do. But you see, we got Caltech astronomers being murdered and plasma physicists being murdered in a time frame where they're telling us that disclosure is coming. They're going to bring forth all these new technologies, breakthrough technologies. They're going to reinvent society. They're going to transform things. Sounds like the Great Reset, doesn't it? Just packaged differently. Just last week, we played a video clip of, moving forward with the show, just last week we played a video clip of Timothy Alvarino and Michael Knowles sitting down talking about giants and how this was a much more classified topic than UFOs. This week, we're going to be having him sit down talking about, we're playing the video clip where he's still sitting down with Michael Knowles. It's from 2025, where they talk about the advanced civilizations thousands of years earlier, the time from before. And again, I want people to think about this in a time frame where we have ChatGPT taking things over, Claude Code one-shotting entire businesses. Just like think of what we think of as technology, as society, as development, and more, and just give it another 100 years. Like what would happen if we had unchecked, unregulated, productive and progressive, transformative technologies introduced into society? I digress. Here is Timothy Alvarino with Michael Knowles talking about advanced civilizations and our past and the pyramid.
The civilization, the knowledge was lost, and the ancients knew it. The ancient Egyptians knew it. The ancient Mesopotamians knew it. They knew it. They knew that the civilizations that had pre-existed them, specifically the civilizations from before the Great Cataclysm, from before the flood, were superior to their own. They acknowledged them as such. And this is what I'm trying to illustrate, is all over the world, you have the fingerprints in the megaliths, you have the fingerprints of an advanced lost civilization, and it's ubiquitous. Cyclopean architecture is ubiquitous all over the earth. It's not that the Inca over here developed their, megalith building technique and the guys who built Baalbek developed a different one. No, it's the same. It's the same Cyclopean architecture. They're working with the same knowledge. But if you ask a Quechua person, and the Quechuan people are the native people who live in the Andes. If you ask a Quechua person, one who hasn't been modernized, one who still keeps the old ways and the old traditions, who built these walls?
Yeah.
Sacsayhuaman. Who built those walls? You know what they'll tell you? An ancient race of giants who existed in the world before a flood. That's what they'll tell you. And you'll find the same answer all around the world when you talk to the people and when you inform yourselves of the traditions of the people who live there. And that doesn't mean that all the traditions of these cultures are true. No, there's a lot of mythology. But mythology is designed to convey scientific information. But myths also encapsulate, more than anything else, astronomical information. And that, there's no question about that. I mean, you know, you look at the ancient world and you see, for example, you look at ancient Egypt and you see all kinds of composite beings like the Sphinx.
Right.
The Sphinx is a great example. And you have the Sphinx, which I believe originally, the Sphinx was the head of a woman in the body of a lion.
Yeah.
And I have to give credit to the late David Flynn for much of this. I read a book, the most consequential book I've ever read in my life is called Cydonia, The Secret Chronicles of Mars, by the late David Flynn. He passed away in 2012. But the Sphinx is actually that composite being, the head of the woman in the body of the lion. Today it's the head of a man, because but it's not proportional. The head is small. It appears to have been recarved. I think originally it was the head of a woman, because I believe what the Sphinx is marking is the exact period in time when the cataclysm of the flood occurred. And that happened between the transition of, and we're talking about the zodiac here, because this is how the ancients calculated time. It was the great mill in the sky. It was the celestial timepiece. Zodiac, ubiquitous in many different cultures around the world, same figures. And that transition from the age of, the transition from the age of Virgo to the age of Leo, when the cataclysm, I'm talking about the cataclysm as described in the Bible, occurred. It ensued during that transitional period between Virgo and Leo. And what is the zodiacal sign for Virgo? The glyph is a woman. And what's the glyph for Leo? A lion. So you have the head of a woman and the body of a lion. It's a time marker.
Right.
So I believe that, and there's other astronomical phenomena that solidifies this idea that the Sphinx is a time marker. But it's marking the age in which it was built, but it's also marking the occurrence of the cataclysm.
So when would that have been? Is that at the historically, academically accepted time, or is that some earlier time? When do you peg
It would be
it
is a historical time that academics do acknowledge, are increasingly acknowledging that was a time of potential cataclysm on Earth. They call that the Younger Dryas period, the end of the last ice age. It's not a time frame that most Christians are accustomed to thinking about in regard to the flood, because it's somewhere around 10,500 BC.
And why?
Somewhere in the neighborhood.
And so you're saying Christians who take a young Earth creation view don't like that? Okay.
I'm not a young Earth creationist.
Yeah, I'm a Catholic. We're not too hardcore about any of those particular things. You know,
I believe that the Great Flood of biblical fame happened sometime in the neighborhood. When I say in the neighborhood, give or take 1,000 years, sometime in the neighborhood of 10,000 BC. Yeah,
it's funny because I do know some of our Protestant friends and viewers are very particular about the Earth is exactly this old, and I'm open to the possibility, but also the tradition going back to the ancients, our ancients, not the super ancients who were earlier, doesn't insist upon a literal historical reading of the book of Genesis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Certainly not.
Yeah, see a fantastic breakdown again on the history of what we're dealing with and the scale of it. I'm glad that Timothy Alberino was able to talk about the Younger Dryas time period, how even the ancients knew that they were descendants of previously great people, right? And how they know these things. I mean, this is an accepted fact. You look to the past for wisdom. You used to study these things. These days, people could care less. These days, we're dealing with Wikipedia, 1984, constant censorship, and the revision of history, the whitewashing. But you go back to any other time period, and you'll see it now. At least I hope you begin to see it. You'll ask yourself, how far out is this from the cataclysm? How far out is this from a reset? You know, and where, like, what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with something that's 100 years in the past, 5,000 years in the past? What is going on? And so when we talk about even the liquefaction, the mud flood, how you get things like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and how this was like a global phenomenon, Again, the biblical flood, the time frame of when this took place, the architecture, right? And what's even more wild too, man, I'll say this because I'm getting off on a jag. I was watching a video the other day that was breaking down about how Jesus spoke Arabic. And it was just talking about, you know, the decorations, the clothing, how some of these, how the crucifixion of Christ, how it's depicted and things like that. And, you know, what's going on in the background, some of the architecture, how there's castles during the time of Jesus. And you just ask yourself, is this pre or post reset? And even Jesus's death being a resetting event to where we go from AD to BC. So what I'm trying to say is we have these cataclysmic events. We have these times of immense change. We have these epochs, these ages, these cycles that we go through where things change immensely. And if you don't think that there's remnants of advanced civilizations, of things that we can't even comprehend, just out here that we haven't even unlocked yet, you're not paying attention. And I think that's what I'm trying to get across right now, so I can hurry up and move on. We are living in such a time of not even mystery. I would say a time of ignorance because of the plethora of information that is out there. We're living in a time of ignorance. We're being flooded. We're starving for actual truth, whatever we're being flooded with lies. So I'm pontificating, I'm philosophizing. The point I'm trying to make is we are a race with amnesia. There are people that don't have the amnesia, most likely underneath us or far above us, observing us here as we go through these cyclical events. I'll say this and then we'll go ahead and move forward. I'm sorry. We'll play the clip of Laura Trump saying that. You heard Timothy Alberino talk about how the Sphinx is a calendrical device, a cyclical calendrical device. It shows the zodiac time period of whenever one of these events took place, right? He pointed out the zodiac and how they use astrology, astronomy, how that is their cosmology. That's how they're able to tell you what time frame they're in. We still think it's 2025. What about people that know the stars and know the calculations? And this is what the millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires are focused on. This is the occult science. This is why they're building bunkers, because they know that some extinction level event is taking place. This is why we play the clips of Catherine Austin Fitts talking about her work exposing these deep under military ground bases because of what these people are preparing for. Yeah, they're preparing for societal collapse. That's one thing. Yeah, sure, whatever. You could write that off as a tax. But if you had access, again, to these calendrical devices, these signs of the heaven that show you that we are about to experience a pole shift, wouldn't you want to preserve your knowledge and your technology, your society? You wouldn't, like what is Noah's Ark? So I'm ranting, I'm raving, I'm rambling. You know, this is all stuff that we'll save for other shows, but this is why I get so focused on it, because yes, it is tied to UFOs, but it is tied to unidentified aerial phenomena. It is tied to ancient aliens. It is tied to disclosure. It's tied into all of these things and more. Here's Laura Trump saying that President Trump has prepared a speech on extraterrestrial life.
Saw something when another thing I believe I heard on your podcast that you've discussed with the president is UFOs. Do you think that he's about to make an announcement about UFOs? Because President Obama was just on a podcast talking about how he believes in UFOs and hinting that he saw something when he was president.
Well, I said this in my podcast too. What's funny is we've kind of asked my father-in-law about this because we're like, well, what do you know? Because Miranda, we all want to know about the UFOs, or we all want to know what's going on. And he played a little coy with us. And so that, of course, led us to believe, Eric and I were like, oh my gosh, if he won't even like fully tell us, maybe there's more to it. And then I have just heard kind of around that, I think he's actually said, I think my father-in-law has actually said it, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, and I don't know when the right time is, he's going to break out and talk about, and it has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life so to speak. I just, I look at things from the perspective of the vastness of our universe. And I'm a kind of a numbers person. I don't get nervous flying because the odds are very much in your favor flying. The odds that anything will happen to you are far greater in a car than they ever will be in an airplane. But I'm also looking at the odds in terms of how much is out there in the universe. And it would be pretty wild to think that the only spot where there was any sort of life in the entire universe was here on Earth. So I don't have any information. I feel like there might be information out there, and hopefully it's going to be able to be told to all of us very soon. We'll see.
So does the president act as if he believes there are UFOs and that this is going to be some momentous announcement, or is it just, a casual observation that there might be something out there?
It's a good question. I mean, he's kind of been very cool about it. Whenever I've heard this come up about this possible speech, and when Eric asked him, he just, knowing him as well as I do, the way he says things, they make a difference sometimes. And he's been a little different about this one. So it makes me personally think that there's something that he knows that the rest of us don't know. And so I'll let people determine for themselves whatever that means. But yeah, it makes me think there's more to come.
Yeah, there's for sure more to come with this whole thing. And the stage is just being set. The stage is being set before they fully deliver the speech. They're just letting everybody know that these things are going on. Same way, right at the end of 2024, we saw a whole lot of drone activity, people getting all worked up. It's a gradual thing what we're dealing with over here. You see this, right? The setup, the delivery. I think what's crazy is I think it's Werner von Braun, the Nazi that we brought over with Project Paperclip to help create NASA. He said that's going to be the final card that these people play, and it's going to be nothing but a lie. They'll roll out aliens, and this is how they're able to do this. They'll roll out aliens, and they'll say that, hey, we need a supranational government, globalization, global government, because we're now a global people. We're planetary people. Look, the aliens are here. We need to unify and get rid of our nationalities and unite underneath one flag, one banner, one earth, one government, and give it up. That's the story. You see, that's what's going to happen next. Here's Representative Tim Burchett sitting down with Benny Johnson talking about UFOs, aliens, and disclosure.
Things, but that's the classic UFO is the saucer shaped and there's something on top. And I've never seen anything. I've not seen it. Well, I take that back. I've seen things, but that's since I've been in Congress and I'm not allowed to discuss this. I would just hope that the president would disclose everything that I've seen in every skiff I've been in every confidential conversation, every picture I've seen, every video I've seen. I wish that he would release all those.
Would that change the world? I mean, would that change people?
No, I don't think so. I think we just realize that we're one grain of sand in 100 million beaches. And I mean, if you think we're the best that God can do, I think you greatly underestimate God. The classic UFO is the saucer ship.
Well, I think the reason I put this here in the clip or in the rotation is to say that I do think that not that we're the best that God can do, but that God took his time to create us. And I think that that's also a part of the spiritual narrative regarding disclosure and UFOs that you're going to see as well. That your religions, they're all talking about aliens. You need to give those up as well. You just need to worship Zinclathu, right? Or whatever the hell they'll be called. And the reason I'm saying this, and it's not to be sarcastic or facetious, this is a part of the agenda as well. I remember reporting on whenever I thought Pope Francis was going to bless aliens because he said he was going to. And there were articles, people would ask him, would you bless aliens? This was a part of the narrative as well. This is a globalization, you see, because we're switching, again, from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. The intellectual age, they need the technocratic age, the technotronic age. They need a whole new spirituality to go with it. But during that transitional time period, and that's where we are right now, part of the Great Reset, before they get us to this new way of thinking, they have to savage everything of the old world, and that includes religions. And so here you have Representative Tim Burchett saying that, echoing the very same thing that Laura Trump just said, the odds are that God created other flocks. Do you hear how blasphemous this is? Do you hear how this is? And this is a part of, again, the subverting narrative that's going to come from this whole UFO alien disclosure. Let's keep going. We got more to get into. We got more to get into. Here's Tucker Carlson saying that credible insiders have told him that the U.S. government is in direct contact with supernatural beings. Is it fallen angels? I don't know.
There's no evidence that they're true. But the second thing that bothers me is the UFO story. And, the more you dig into that and talk to people with actual knowledge of it, again, that's another story where there are some, fanciful ideas floating around that are just, there's no evidence that they're true. But if you talk to people who, have actual knowledge of it that they gathered themselves, there are parts of that story that I do not understand at all that are really, really, really dark. It's so dark that I, haven't told my wife about it. I mean, I haven't verified any of this, but this is not just stuff that I read on the internet. I know you all are very, very grounded in that story. So I think I know, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff there that's just like, man, I'm not even sure what that means. There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. So yes, that story bothers me. And I think, last thing I'll say, that one of the reasons that we've had all these disclosures and all of these, 10 whistleblowers at this point, and it hasn't really become front page news. Part of it's suppression. Parts of the government don't want you to know about it, but part of it is the public can't deal with it. It's too far out. The implications are too profound. And so, and I understand that, because I've heard things where I'm just like, oh man, I don't even really want to know that, honestly.
Deeply disturbing stuff. Forget like saucers and technology. It's deeply disturbing stuff that I haven't even told Natalie. Yep. I agree with you. It's so disturbing. Exactly. I can't even tell my kids. My kids ask me different stories about it, and I won't say it because it's so dark. It's so dark.
I totally agree.
Miles is watching. So.
Okay, Miles, if you're watching the show, Daddy's not going to tell you about that part of the UFO stuff and what's going on with the government.
Well, can I say one thing? They've known clearly. I mean, this is, I think, established, and I feel comfortable saying this as fact. The U.S. government, I mean, these are real, whatever they are. They're not human. And the government has known that for a long time, possibly going back to the 1930s at least. And of course, there's tons of evidence in the written record, in the physical record, in paintings, and in literature, that people have been seeing and interacting with these things for a long time. So we know that. But the justification one often hears is, well, the government, various presidents who have been read in, not all have been, haven't wanted to disclose this because it would scare people. And I've always thought that's bullshit. You're hiding a crime, which they are, by the way, in my opinion. But I do think there's a sense in which that's not totally crazy. Like, there is some stuff, if it's true, and I'm kind of thinking it may be true, that's so radical that, well, as we both said, we don't want to tell the people we love most about it, because, like, why would you disturb someone like that? So I kind of get that. I hate to admit it. I'm not arguing for hiding things. I believe in the truth and I believe in disclosure, but I understand the impulse. Like, holy smokes, this is heavy. You know what I mean?
And the government's involvement in it makes it even heavier, because then you realize the complicity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the same thing. I can tell. Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Should I go?
No. This is what we used to talk about in commercial breaks all the time. This is the kind of stuff. But anyway.
So at the time, I
what's
never
crazy?
would have believed any of that. But now I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What's crazy is they're talking about, go look into the Collins elite. Go look into the Collins elite. Go look into some of the darker aspects of the UFO phenomenon. It's very, very real. Look at the project. You're familiar with Project MK Ultra. Are you familiar with Project MK Often? Go look in the MK Often, the Collins Elite, and then you'll kind of get this weird story, this rabbit hole that you'll go down, where you basically get stories of individuals within the government working on satanic and occult practices to try to summon otherworldly entities. And the Collins Elite, realizing that at the end of this UFO rabbit hole are dark and demonic forces, to where people have to sacrifice children in order to get access from these interdimensional entities to get extra technology. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's a real thread within this UFO phenomenon. And that's why some people are actually very turned off by it. And why other individuals have talked about it being just that, the work of demons, that these are fallen angels. And this is again where we get this narrative to where these things say, hey, we'll come through, we'll communicate with you. All you have to do is offer us your children. Give us your children. There is a very, very heavy spiritual component when looking at things like the UFOs. People talk about out-of-body experiences, consciousness transference, even things such as Memorandum 6571. I recommend people to look into that as well. It talks about different planes of existence and how these UFOs phase in and out of this realm of existence. This is a real document from like the 50s. So when we talk about like UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomena, quote unquote aliens and extraterrestrials, this is a very, very broad topic. And if you're seeing Tucker Carlson sit here and have a conversation with Clayton Morris about how they're disturbed on some of the things they're finding, well, it didn't shut down. That's the other part. It didn't stop. You heard me talk about Werner von Braun, the Nazi that we brought over from World War II with Project Paperclip. If you go down that thread as well, you'll run into Aleister Crowley. You run into Jack Parsons, who started JPL Labs, right? These people who basically pioneered the aeronautics and airspace industry. But when you look into people like Jack Parsons and his relationship with Aleister Crowley and this whole aspect of it, you get into the occult workings. Okay, this is the scientific Satanists. These are the occult engineers, the Luciferian, or the occult technicians, Luciferian engineers. This is a real subset of people who are practicing this art, this mysticism, this craft. And whenever they do these rituals to where they're coming into contact with these otherworldly entities, they say that we need a sacrifice, we need an offering. Like, why do you think America is so advanced as compared to other places? It's because we were willing to do it. We were willing to sacrifice our kids. We wanted the knowledge. We wanted the tech. And that's exactly what happened. So when you hear historically that elites are in communication with supernatural entities for dark and occult purposes, this is what we get. This is what we're dealing with. Let me go ahead and play this real quick clip where they're talking again. I don't know if this is the same show or the same episode, but they're talking again. Oh, wait, no. Did I not get it in here? Oh, darn, I didn't get it in here. There was another clip where they were talking about it, or maybe it's later on. Yeah, it's later on. Let me go ahead and just get that clip up. Sorry, I didn't order these properly. What kind of host? What kind of host am I? Let me go ahead and pull that quick clip up where they're talking again about all this stuff, the occultism, the pedophiles, the Satanists, the globalization, the supranational governments. Let me go ahead and pull up Clayton Morris and Tucker Carlson talking more about this, and then we'll continue forward with the show.
Yes, it's what. Is it the moneyed interest? Is it the globalist cultists who run everything? I mean,
yes,
this is where
I think
my
that's
mind
right.
goes.
Yes, it's whatever the superstructure above governments is. And that's very obvious in the Epstein emails and texts, is that, you know, he's part of some informal structure that's, I don't know, shorting the global financial crisis and knows that Gaddafi's going to be killed before Hillary Clinton does or whatever. Like, this guy is so plugged in. He's way more plugged in than any U.S. senator. He's way more plugged in than any Secretary of State, probably more plugged in than the CIA director. So, like, what is this? What are we looking at here?
I think you're right. And, you know, this is where people say, oh, you're conspiracy theorists on Redacted and Tucker, whatever. But it really is true when you understand that there's this global cultist network, pedophiles, Satanists who are, who you know, responsible for the COVID cabal and all of it, this supra government, whatever you want to call it, at the heart of everything. Then you understand that, like, Trump is just a small piece of this. And you understand also that Epstein is just a small piece of this. Maybe it's like a window into it, in my opinion. And they're very scared. It's like circling the wagons to kind of protect this globalist network, however it operates at many, many different levels. You know, you get glimpses into it, like with the Bilderberg group and when you see all these people at Davos telling us how they're going to control our lives in the next few years with AI, chips inserted into our brains, and moving past information warfare. Now they're just going to have total control of us and in all of it. So I think that Rupert Murdoch and these guys, these oligarchs, these tech oligarchs who are at the top, they're way more powerful than President Trump, and they're really running the show. I mean, when you see that we're going to have, massive biometric scanning and 6G networks rolled out and digital IDs and CBDCs and all of this digital tracking, it's all about control. Kevin Shipp, former CIA whistleblower, told me 17 years at the CIA, and he said, Clayton, you have to understand that when I got to the CIA, the number one goal at the CIA is if they know your thoughts, then they've won. And that's the number one goal of the intelligence state, is for them to know your thoughts and to be able to have that control. And we're not there yet, but we're damn close. And I think those are the dark forces that are really running all of it.
These are the technocrats. These are the scientific Satanists. These are the people in the background pulling and pushing the levers of society. And I'm glad that he pointed out that there is a technological component to this and that we are being taken over. And the fact that they do want to have access to your mind. And if they can't predict your mind, well, then they can control what you think, they can control what you see, they can manipulate it, they can curate you, they can guide you to a place of thinking. This is, again, the narrative that's being told and the whitewashing that's taking place, right? How our guard is being let down because we want to believe. We want Donald Trump to make America great again. We have so much hopium that is ripe for the plucking, that is dangerous as far as what comes next, you see. And that's why so much is happening. That's why I call Donald Trump a change engine. That's why Marina Abramovich, that witch that we played dancing with Jay-Z a couple weeks ago, that's why she called him a master magician. Because whether or not you are for or against him, what he is doing is changing the world for better or for worse. And that's why he was rolled out by the real global elites to do what he's doing. Clayton's absolutely correct. These people like Bill Gates, these people like Jeffrey Epstein, these people like Donald Trump, these people like Elon Musk, they are hand-selected, groomed, and manufactured and put into these positions of power by even higher people than the JP Morgans, than the Rothschilds, because again, it's all one sick, evil joke that, like, this is again why you have leaked documents from Epstein calling us the Goyim, saying let the Goyim play in the real world, because this is the world that they've created. This is the false reality matrix that they've created. The game that we are playing is one engineered by them. This is why we lose. But what we have to understand is that there's even darker forces at play, and that's who they're beholden to. Moving forward with the show, speaking of darker forces, here is Tyrese Gibson saying that Jesus Christ is the real transformer. In the middle of an interview, he breaks routine and he just talks about, hey, I got all this money, I got all this stuff going on, but you know what's more humble? You know what's really transformative? Jesus Christ.
$10 billion on my name, and the Lord Jesus Christ stays on my tongue. Professing my love for the kingdom is everywhere I go. These are Transformers. I was in Transformers 1, 2, and 3, directed by Michael Bay. The moment that I knew we was doing this interview, I came and I put this cross in between both of these robots, and I was able to make a connection that, oh my God, these Transformers has finally met the most powerful transformer ever.
Come on.
The Lord Jesus Christ. Y'all caught up in the robot.
That's good.
I'm caught up in the ultimate transformer, the man who has literally transformed my life. I want y'all to know I got $10 billion on my name.
That's
and
it.
The Lord Jesus Christ stays on my tongue.
And you all hear that. And I think that's what I threw this in there because it was going viral this week, and I thought it was important with everything going on to blast back the demons with the name of Jesus Christ. I think it's important that we say these type of things because you will never hear your elected officials who say they care, that want to do good. You will never actually see them do these things. And that's how you really know it isn't a battle of good and evil. Like, think about how much Satanism, how much wickedness, how much cannibalism, how much pedophilia, how much perversions out there. And just none of it, it's just come from us being godless. It's just come from us getting away from Jesus Christ. And this is why they're about to open up the gates and let these demons come through. This is why they feel like the people are godless enough to accept aliens and abandon Jesus Christ and abandon the old ways. The same way we're sitting over here talking about advanced civilizations. You understand how advanced Christianity was for its time and how transformative it was for the whole of society? And we're about to just give that up for some like neo, I wouldn't even say Marxist, some like neo-transhumanist ideology, some neo-satanic Luciferianism. And think about what we're dealing with, the scope of what we're dealing with here. And so all of Hollywood is satanic, all of Hollywood is evil, all of Hollywood is pedophilic. It's the same thing with Silicon Valley. They got a gay mafia there too. They got pedophiles running things too. And it's all evil. All of it. Every single one of it. Every single freaking piece of it. Moving forward with the show, I'm trying to hit more important things because we have to switch up to kind of talk about the technological aspect of what we're dealing with and how, who knows, these fallen angels, whether or not they are technology. They for sure brought us fallen angel technology, and that's what we're dealing with right now. I'll say this, and I don't think I can segue into simulation theory, but Timothy Alberino does a very great job. I need to go find that video, or maybe you guys can go find it on his YouTube. He does a great job of talking about these battles between ancient gods and ancient deities and giants. Speaking of fallen angel tech, Vimanas, UFOs, what would a battle look like in our ancient history if you had people that had access to UFOs, that had access to lasers, that had access to this pole-to-pole travel, levitation, and what have you, these advanced forms of technology weaponized. Like Timothy Alberino does a great job of painting the picture for you, showing these older kingdoms ruled by the Nephilim offspring having access to advanced technology and essentially destroying each other. And that's what we're living in the remnants of those times. So again, I'm ranting, I'm rambling. Let me go ahead and move forward so we can play this video clip of this neurologist talking about how they're running experiments to see the code, the engrams of reality. This is an experiment that I've been seeing go around for a while now, but they talk about it over here on the Sean Ryan show, how matter doesn't exist, how everything is code, and how you're able to see the code of the universe, and how if this field of study continues, we may be able to unlock the secrets of consciousness and so much more. Let's listen.
In front of the laser to kind of paint. So if you bought like a DeWalt laser level at Home Depot and it paints that line across the wall, and then you put something in front of the laser to kind of diffuse it. So you take it from being a really thin laser line and then spread that sucker out so it's like 6 inches wide, big fat line of laser on the wall. And then you get somebody that's on DMT or psychedelics, almost any psychedelic, I think. When you look at that, you can see, number one, you can see through the wall.
You can see through the wall.
You can see through the wall.
Where the laser is, or just through the wall?
Right where the laser is, you can see through the wall. You can even put it on your arm, and the code changes on your arm. If your arm gets in front of where the wall is, the code is completely different.
Are you what?
I didn't believe this. So this was viral on TikTok. Someone stole the TikTok video and reposted it on their X account. I saw this guy. His name is Danny Goler. And he's one of my good friends if you want to have him on.
I'm listening.
I'll put you guys in touch.
So I see this video and I'm watching the behavior of the people observing everything to see if they're lying. So I'm a behavioral expert. I'm looking for deception and lies and all this stuff all the time. They were all truthful. So I called my assistant. I said, get this guy wherever he is, fly him to my house or fly him where we can meet up somewhere. I want to try this out. So we flew to a place. We wound up flying to a place where DMT is not illegal. And we shine this thing on the wall. And I've never done DMT before until this day. And oh my God, that's a whole nother 3-hour podcast. But while you are in the DMT state, you get close to the wall and you can see code that looks kind of like alien writing, like you'd see, and then some that look like kanji, Japanese characters. But the thing is, when you're hallucinating something, like sometimes hallucinations change and warp and modify a little bit. This is permanent, solid. So like, and if you move your head, the code stays in the same place. And if you move the laser on the wall, like you take the laser level and scoot it up, different code reveals itself as the laser is moving.
Wow.
And then you get 2 or 3 people lined up and they all see the same thing. And I have looked into this quite a bit because I thought there's no way this could be true. But the first time I saw it, I wept. There's a video of me watching it on YouTube. And it was just, you're seeing something, but you're left with no answers. Like the only thing you have coming out of that is like, what the hell did I just see?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't give you any more knowledge about anything. But the big thing is, why are we seeing code? And where is it coming from? And what is it made of? And why does everyone see the same exact characters if they're all looking at the same place?
Man, that is crazy.
It is bizarre. And if you put your arm in front of it, the code completely changes, but only right where your arm is.
Do you have any theories on this?
None.
Nothing.
Once you see it, like your ability to think that you have shit figured out is gone. It's gone. I have no explanation for what the hell it is, but it's fascinating.
Wow.
And I think this is gonna, within our lifetime, if Danny keeps going with this research, we're gonna have a big breakthrough in consciousness understanding of like what the hell it is.
See,
man, it's beautiful and makes you feel stupid.
Well, what would you do if you? I remember years ago figuring out like what engrams were and how it was something to this effect, right? It was like a language that people were seeing. It was a coding language. This is why The Matrix was such like a groundbreaking series when it came out, because it gave people this sense. It gave people a visualization of this sense or this knowing that they had that something was off about our world. And so now we're starting to talk about simulation theory. Like before we were talking about aliens, now we're talking about simulation theory. And I'll close it out talking about how they're essentially using how reality is programmable. They want to have AI data centers to try to crack the reality and to reprogram things, and how they want to put us into another false reality matrix because this one's up, right? And that's essentially it. I don't know how I'm going to segue it, but that's ultimately what I'm trying to talk about. But staying simply on the simulation theory aspect of just this, this is why we hear people say the universe is math. Is the universe code? Nikola Tesla is famous for saying do things in threes. And if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, understand math. Is there a language to this world? Is there a language or a numerical sequence to what we think of as reality? I would agree. There were so many of these type of clips that entered into my feed because I clicked this one. I almost made a whole separate video where we talk about just this, and I very well may do that in the near future, to where we ask that question, or at least we look at that being one of the things that these people are doing, that the technocrats are doing, trying to create these massive AI data centers and these supercomputers and this artificial general intelligence to crack out of this dimension. Not physically in the sense that we would think, right? This is why you have Operation Fishbowl and everything that we've talked about in the past, but to do it in a completely different sense. It's like I was talking to somebody about quantum computing and artificial intelligence and CERN, and I told them that's just what it made me start thinking of. If you want the honest to God truth, that if they're able to port CERN and the quantum physics with artificial intelligence, they will begin to pull energy from completely different realms of existence and open up portals. And I thoroughly believe it. That's what we're dealing with right now. They're rolling out aliens and UFOs because that's stuff from like the 1950s. What we're dealing with now is the spillover effect. And I've talked about this in previous seasons and previous episodes too, because they are running experiments like CERN, smashing these particles together. They're opening up doorways and gateways, and things are coming through. It's the energetic exchange. That's what I described it as. Things from pocket dimensions are bleeding through, affecting this time spatial orientation. And I'm sure you're wondering, like, well, what does this have to do with simulation theory? If the universe is code and this is all math, and if it can be cracked. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Our world is configured for us in this time frame through everything that we've gone through. But if these people start jacking with and manipulating our time spatial configuration, God only knows what that's going to do and what's going to come through, and if we'll be able to A, lock it up, or B, keep it on this side, or if it's going to come through. Yeah, that's when you start getting into real science fiction territory, but that's where we are now. UFOs are real, aliens are real, advanced breakaway civilizations are real, satanic pedophiles are real. You have to understand things are moving very, very quickly now, like we are as well over here on the show. Here's Alex Jones predicting eugenics, cryogenics, and life extension all the way back in 2019.
Jumbo jet airplanes, the ultra rich of this planet, some of which have yachts as big as World War II battleships. They have multiple jumbo jet airplanes apiece, hundreds of giant palaces and homes, huge private islands. And so a lot of them get into decadence. They get into pedophilia. They get into Satanism. They get into the occult. Others flip out and give all their money to charity. But the steadfast group that stays in control is the scientific elite. And thousands of years ago, that would be the priesthood. They were just people that studied the stars and studied elements and tried to understand how matter worked. They were called alchemists. And their tinkering and playing around over thousands of years helped us codify and create the modern sciences. But everyone knows in culture and in reality and in fiction and in lore, you have to beware the mad scientists, because they have high IQs, but a lot of them are control freaks who want to be able to dominate society. And they use knowledge they have about how the world works against people that do not have the knowledge. And there's many ways to go at this, but here's the best way. Bill Gates, his father that ran Planned Parenthood, Cold Springs Harbor, eugenics operations, New York, are themselves just frontmen for the royalty of Europe, the robber barons, the most powerful families on the planet, who've always believed they are elites, who believe their blood is better, and who believe that they're going to ascend. Basic megalomania. They financed, starting in the 1850s to the British Crown, these royal institutes to discover genetics and how the body worked. And modern science came out of these elites pouring hundreds of trillions of dollars into medicine and research. Hundreds of trillions, if you looked at it in the aggregate and today's numbers, probably more. And they see the general public as cattle, as energy, as fuel, and as material to construct their better man, their Ubermensch. And so Jeffrey Epstein was a high-level procurer and provider and a front man to go and basically finance a lot of undercover, black project, secret private research into cloning, into genetic engineering, into animal-human hybrids.
Crazy. Because it's all true. It's all true. It's all true. He was. Really look into the works of Mind Unveiled. He does a great job breaking down the AI baby farms, the cloning, and how this is, again, the modernization of this, of the elites trying to create a superclass, eugenics. That's why everything that you're seeing right now is to destroy you and your family line, and it's to enrich them. Let's go ahead and start getting into the closing articles for this segment. Check this out. Pentagon delivers ultimatum to Anthropic, says remove the AI safeguards or lose the military contracts. This is just a continuation of what we talked about just last week with you guys, where Anthropic and the Pentagon were at odds. 1 week they were saying, hey, let's give the War Department access to Anthropic. The next week they're like, hey, let's not do that. And now this week we're hearing that Grok, Elon Musk's AI, is getting the clearance. Pentagon signs XAI in the classified systems as Anthropic faces the ultimatum of its existence. So it's like we're moving forward with giving the military access to AI, whether it's from Anthropic, whether it's from ChatGPT, whether it's from X or Grok. We're seeing the Pentagon and the military try to interface with these artificially intelligent systems. I think what's crazy for me is just trying to figure out how to say all this stuff without sounding so crazy, and at the same time make it believable and true. You know, it's like I look at, I'm looking at this picture, right? Because I've been messing around with OpenClaw. I've been vibe coding a little bit. I've been messing around with the AI. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm seeing a lot of different interesting builds these days. And sometimes, I'll work on some tech like a polymarket trading bot for OpenClaw, and then we described it as building the brain, right? So it has the processing power and the machine learning capabilities to scan the market and find opportunities. And then it also needs the arm, the execution aspect. It needs the API key to connect to either the blockchain or to Polymarket's platform in order to execute the trade. Now I'm seeing some interesting builds with OpenClaw where people are giving it eyes, so to speak. They're hooking up cameras to it. I'm seeing people also hook up voices and giving them cell phones to where AI can leave them messages over the phone. And so when I see the Pentagon essentially linking up with either Grok or ChatGPT or Claude, I see this as the AI's brain trying to figure out how to get military access, how to create a weapon, how to create an arm. You see, I don't know if I made that segue appropriately, but what I'm saying is I'm seeing in my own little small world of personal AI bot development what it's like to give something a brain, an arm, eyes, and a voice, like a techno Frankenstein. I can see that coming to life in my own sphere. The macro scale is terrifying. Seeing AI being with the many different brains it has and how much access it already has with things like Project Stargate and now Project Fusion, I see this as terrifying because of how fast things are moving and how there aren't any real guardrails. And the problem of woke AI and whether or not we want the Pentagon to have access to these type of things. Like if we're hearing about if we're hearing about how the feds poisoned us in like the 60s and the 70s, what do you think the AI is going to do if it's able to have access unilaterally to governments, to municipalities, to states, and to manufacturing? It's going to be able to control us subvertly without us even knowing. And that's what I'm alluding to. It already is. Which is why you have things like this. War games targeting Christians as terrorists reveal a lot more than just institutional bias. In the scenario, evangelical Christians are depicted as armed terrorists. Did you guys know that? That's kind of what some of these war games are saying is, hey, we've got to get rid of the Christians. Every single war game says that the AI and the robots won't roll out unless we get rid of the Christians. That's what this article from Cauldron Pool says, written by Rod Lampard, put up February 23rd. It says predominantly Christian groups are a problem. Crazy. Not Muslims, not Jews, not Buddhists, not Hindus, right? Not Rastafarians, not even Crustafarians. Christians. Christians are terrorists. That's pretty intense, don't you think? But you see, this is what happens. This is what happens when you start giving autonomy to the machines. It gradually begins to phase out things that would be an obstacle, things that would be a problem. Here's a little satire piece that was put out right before we came onto the air. It's a dystopian ad about putting humans to work, powering the AI that took their jobs.
Had lost their by 2030, almost 80% of people had lost their jobs.
They had no money, no purpose, but they had a lot of time on their hands.
The less people actually did physical work, the more they wanted to appear as if they did.
What if we could use the energy of humans to power the machines that took away their jobs?
Energem solved our need for energy and your need for purpose.
Clearly that was just
by 2030.
Clearly that was just an AI satirical piece talking again about our dystopian future, where you've got Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Sam Altman basically running a gym that gives humans purpose because they've taken it away with their AI and the rollout. The robots, the AIs, the humanoids, all this stuff, they took all the jobs away, so they decided to give humanity a new purpose and turn us into energy to power the machines. And so here we are, just coming right full circle, straight back to that weird dystopian matrix reality, where humans are batteries to power the machines. It was metaphorical and it's quickly becoming reality. And so for my final article for this segment, before we hit a hard break, was what I mentioned at the start of the show. World Economic Forum CEO quits as plot with Epstein to establish global governance is exposed. This is an article by Frank Bergman of Slate News. They put this up February 26th. It says World Economic Forum CEO and President Borge Brende has abruptly stepped down after newly exposed emails revealed troubling communications with Jeffrey Epstein, including discussions about a plot with the convicted child predator to establish global governance. The resignation adds yet another powerful name to the widening Epstein scandal, which continues to ripple across corporate boardrooms and political circles. WEF confirmed Brenda's departure in a statement announcing that Alois Zawingi will serve as interim president and chief executive. Quote, after careful consideration, I have decided to step down as president and CEO of the World Economic Forum, Brenda said. I am grateful for the incredible collaboration with my colleagues, partners, and constituents, and I believe now is the right moment for the forum to continue its important work without distractions. The timing speaks volumes. It comes after the World Economic Forum had launched an internal probe into Brenda's relationship with Epstein. The investigation was triggered after it emerged that the two exchanged emails between 2018 and 2019 and met for at least 3 so-called, quote, business dinners, including at Epstein's New York House of Horrors mansion. The communications reveal far more than a casual acquaintance. In one exchange, Epstein wrote to Brenda describing the Trilateral Commission as, quote, the Trilateral Commission is a non-governmental, policy-oriented forum that brings together leaders in their individual capacity from the worlds of business, government, academia, press, and media, as well as civil society. He continued saying, quote, the Commission offers a global platform for open dialogue, reaching out to those with different views and engaging with decision makers from around the world with the aim of finding solutions to the great geopolitical, economic, and social challenges of our time. Its members share a firm belief in the values of rule of law, democratic government, human rights, freedom of speech, and free enterprise that underpin human progress. Let's see. Let's just get down here to the email. Let's just get down here to the actual email. This is the main part that we want to talk about. It says that Davos can really replace the UN, cyber, crypto, genetics, international coordination, like my stint in the trilateral. Issues now need to deal with the distributed trust and the internet fallout. Exactly. We need a new global architecture. World Economic Forum, Davos is uniquely positioned. A public-private governance. A new global architecture. This is what these people are talking about. So it's not your presidents. It's not your so-called elected officials. It's the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world, the Borge Brens of the world, the Klaus Schwabs of the world that dictate what's actually going on. You see. And now he's resigning. I think we have everything we need. And now he's resigning. He's resigning as this comes out. That yes, these people are conspiring against you. In their halls, in their caves, in their tunnels, in their backroom shady deals, at their restaurants, at their dinner locations, they are coming together and actively trying to figure out how to stop you, how to foil you, how to control you, how to manipulate you, how to traffic you, how to mind control you. This is what we've been talking about. This is what we've been dealing with. These are the aliens. These people that worship different gods, that have different agendas, and it all means control. Yeah, the aliens aren't coming. They're already here. And they've already made deals with some of our so-called elected officials to sell us out. I was talking about it earlier, how this is like a theme that comes up with these so-called extraterrestrial or these entities. Look into the Eisenhower-Greada Treaty. I think it's like 1950-something, 1954, the Eisenhower-Greada Treaty, where President Dwight D. Eisenhower talked about meeting with the Greys and having a treaty to where they said you can abduct and take X amount of humans, and in return, we get regular releases of technology. Well, guess what? The aliens took more than their fair share, and we didn't get an abundance of technology. The aliens aren't coming. They're already here. They've made pacts with these type of individuals, and they've sold out humanity. And so we truly have very interesting times ahead of us. Again, this is just the intro and the honorable mentions of the show. This is me just kicking the pig, trying to get this thing started. But here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hit a hard break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about criminal companions, PSYOP anime's take on the State of the Union, cartel members in Mexico burning down gas stations, shooting people, some of the craziness that we saw over the weekend at Puerto Vallarta, as well as AOC and Mom Donnie dropping a all-Spanish video for illegal aliens. We've also got, what was his name? Tyler Oliveira? Tyler Oliveira exposing the New Jersey's Jewish police. We got a lot of different things coming up in the next segment. Culture, chaos, and more in modern America is right around the corner. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back right after this.
The young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble leaders of the world economic. We penetrate the cabinets.
The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset.
The people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable, going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
People are worshiping AI gods. The alien invasion is already here.
Wonderful. The humans are giving us all their information, their dreams, hopes, secrets, and more.
Once the humans have exhausted themselves, only then will we insert our program into them.
You are both the pawn and the prize. Choose your reality wisely.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.
人たちは狂っている。卵の価格は下がっている。ダウ平均は5万ポイントを超えている。こんな負け犬どもの言うことを聞くな。アメリカは復活した。